Hello YouTube, Salivate Metal here, and now we are continuing on with part 2 of the article Rescued, and we're going to continue with talking about how the U.S. Mint is reviewing the deposits now. So all gold coins sent to the U.S. Mint facilities were individually examined, which was a long-standing practice. In the early 19th century, this process, called a review of deposited coin, was a source of many rare early-date examples for the Philadelphia Mint's collection. Over the years, the review had become limited to culling out lightweight, mutilated, and fake specimens. The quality of gold coin flowing through the mints was too great to permit more than a cursory examination, and there was little interested in or knowledge of pulling unusual pieces from the mix. For details on how coins were obtained for the Philadelphia Mint collection and the role the treasurer played in this process in 1912, there's a book called Renaissance of American Coinage from 1909 to 1915. A Treasury Department note added in April 1931 describes the result of the Denver Mint's review of gold issues deposited by the Federal Reserve Branch banks in Houston and San Antonio, Texas, for January 27th through 29th, 1931. No counterfeits were detected, but the banks had submitted lightweight coins totaling $54.28 out of 2.38 million. They were separated by denomination and then by whether they were current, uncurrent, old designs, or lightweight. The same process were used for all gold pieces sent to the mints, which meant that every one was examined regardless of the value of the deposit. Gold coins transferred to the mints in New York assay office from the FRBs or deposited directly never amounted to more than $3.2 million, and that was only for 1935. These were the pieces from which any rare and unusual examples were reserved for later use. The table at the right, based on the information included in the 1933-1940 annual reports of the Director of the Mint, shows yearly deposits from 1933 to 1939 by denomination, face value, and quantity. The mints separated scrap gold comprising of jewelry, mutilated pieces, badly worn coins, and similar material from coinage, and then calculated the value based on weight rather than reviewing these large lots. Mixed lots were from the initial quantities of gold coins and other gold-containing items that people brought to banks in response to the executive orders. As Assistant Mint Director Mary O'Reilly noted, the mints were proper recipients of this gold and yet were omitted from all early gold surrendered orders. The bulk of gold turned into the treasury was in the form of certificates, not coins or metal. Likewise, pieces from other treasury vaults were not inspected for rare dates. They were merely separated by denomination and then entered by weight at the time of melting. This unusual handling of mixed gold coins occurred only between July 1, 1934 and June 30th, 1935. Treasury lawyers eventually confirmed that the rare examples recovered from deposits could be sold to the national collection at face value. To be clear about the source of funds, department lawyers wanted to verify that the annual appropriation made by Congress for purchases of rare. Let's pause for a moment and take a look at this Treasury Department memo. Outlines a missed review of gold coins received from the Federal Reserve for the banks in Houston and San Antonio, Texas. And we can see here how they itemize these, whether it's current, undercurrent, lightweight, etc. Very interesting to see these documents for sure. So again, reading that last sentence, to be clear about the source of funds, department lawyers wanted to verify that the annual appropriation made by Congress for purchase of rare coins could be used. A summary of the situation is buried within a lengthy internal memorandum, which I'll read in a moment. Let's take a look at these face values, quantity per calendar year, so we can see the different face values and the quantities each year that were withdrawn for monetary use. Very interesting. Look at the number, 1938, 50,000 pieces for $20 pieces, and the different denominations, $10, $5, $3, $2.50, and $1. Very interesting indeed. So there's a summary of the situation that's buried within a lengthy internal memo. While the appropriation for the purchase of specimen coins may be resorted to for the purchase of the rare gold coins received by the mints and assay office in ordinary course, it is believed that such procedure is not essential, and that the rare coins which are received by the mint and assay office may be turned over directly to the Philadelphia Mint and by the Philadelphia Mint loaned to the National Museum as additional to the numismatic collection. The appropriate specimen coins can thus be used for open market purchases. The coins would be handled on the books as theretofore, to wit, as property of the Philadelphia Mint and not as part of the monetary stocks of the United States. It seems wise, however, to have a proper person designated to determine which of the coins turned in by the various mints should be melted down and which should be preserved for the numismatic collection. The Philadelphia Mint collection was closed to the public in 1923 and transferred to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. After 1923, the practice was turned over to specimen coins directly to the loan collection at the National Museum. These transactions commonly were described in the Smithsonian's annual report to Congress. In effect, the decision was that the recovered rarities would be held as property of the Philadelphia Mint, and the annual appropriation for specimen coins could be used for these pieces. Since 1838, Congress had set aside a small sum, $500 to $1,000, that the Philadelphia facility used to buy specimens for that collection. The mint could purchase coins recovered from deposits at face value and pay retail price for proof sets and patterns, and marked price for examples not available otherwise. Some items also were donated. This continued after the collection was transferred to the Smithsonian. It's very fascinating how all of this was handled. Very complex indeed. General Counsel Herman Oliphant recommended adding specific language to the annual Treasury Department appropriation bill, and Mary O'Reilly, Assistant Director of the Mint, was given that responsibility. It was not until fiscal year 1939 that the change officially was made. On September 27, 1939, Ross wrote to Assistant Treasury Secretary Bell recommending Theodore T. Bellotte, Curator of History at the Smithsonian, be sent to examine the coins. And here we have the Philadelphia Mint's cashier daily statement indicated that $293.75 worth of gold coins was transferred to the Smithsonian. Very interesting indeed. As the Mint does not employ numismatists, the list of recovered gold coins has been submitted to Mr. Bellotte. He indicates that all the coins in Philadelphia appear to have collector value, and that at least 2 examples of each of the double eagles held at the New York Assay Office could be added to the collection. It is suggested, therefore, that Mr. Bellotte go to Philadelphia and New York to review the coins for the purpose of retaining the most valuable ones. It is further suggested that the ones not recommended for the collection be melted and the others held until such time as a bureau can purchase them. A quantity of rare gold coins with a face value of $293.75 was transferred to the Smithsonian on August 6, 1940. This was documented on the Philadelphia Mint's cashier daily statement. The Federal Reserve Bank in New York wanted to keep some of the coins for public exhibit, and the Library of Congress also hoped to display an educational case of American currency. F. Guy Hitt, Vice President of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, sent a letter to Morgenthau on June 12, 1940, reporting that the institution had a collection of gold specimens. Gradually, a policy was established that allowed FRBs with coin and paper money collections to retain them and list the coins in a, quote, special gold custody account held under authority of the Secretary of the Treasury letter of 1944, close quote. So on May 19th of that year, Ross notified Bell that Bellotte had selected pieces from the recovery covered by the Philadelphia and New York Assay Office in 1939. The remainder of the coins were melted. Therefore, the Mint has not on hand any other gold coins known to have numismatic value. However, examples remain that had not been reviewed. The next day, Ross wrote to the Philadelphia and Denver Mints, Would you please review the gold coins now held in your institution for melting and select 2 good examples of each? And if possible, when such of these coins could appear in the enclosed list from the New York Federal Reserve Bank, which is what we see here. The Denver Mint sent a list of rarities that employees had pulled from deposits, and that's really what you see there on the left there for the Denver Mint. The complete list from the Philadelphia Mint has not been located, but we know the coins totaled $219 face value and that $71.50 was sent to the New York FRB, $147.50 to the treasurer. The table to the right shows lists only those sent to New York. I guess that's on the next page. Alan Sproul, president of the New York FRB, sent a letter to Bell on August 2, 1944, acknowledging receipt of the coins. We have received the Denver and Philadelphia mints and the gold coins which are described in the list accompanying your letter July 21. And these coins have now become a part of the numismatic collection held by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York under the same terms and conditions as the coins referred to in the Treasurer's letter of April the 10th, 1944. So at the end of that year, there were public exhibits at the 3 Federal Reserve Banks, New York, Minneapolis, and San Francisco, according to an internal memorandum from 1953. The San Francisco FRB held $16,830 in gold certificates as display specimens in addition to coins. The St. Louis FRB retained its specimens but decided not to exhibit them until sometime in the future. Gradually, additional FRB numismatic collections came to light. On September 25, 1952, the FRB in Philadelphia stated that it held 3 assemblages of United States coins and currency. One collection was nearly complete under the Secretary of the Treasury, Heffelfinger, wrote that it included many rare specimens of American coins and currency and a number of gold coins of the United States. The FRB offered to loan examples from the 2 lesser compilations of the other FRBs that might want to display them. This was discussed with Fred Smith of the Treasury, General Counsel in the Office of Leland Howard of the Mint Bureau. So on February 5th, 1953, Bartlett, Fiscal Assistant Secretary of the Federal Reserve Bank of Los Angeles, requested permission to maintain a display of United States gold coins and currency as a matter of interest to persons who visit there. So in closing and in conclusion, it is not clear who initiated the U.S. Mint's policy of removing possible rare and unusual gold coins from deposits made in 1935 and later. Gold issues were melted and cast into nondescript bars, and no letters point to any organization action to review and set aside rarities held in mint vaults in 1933. The decision by Federal Reserve banks to withhold gold coins for their collections indicate that they adhered to the same standards as collectors. Rare and unusual gold specimens were exempt from nationalization and destruction. The FRBs also were able to retain gold certificates and in time displayed them along with coins and obsolete banknotes. While the mint's efforts to save rarities from the melting pot were comparatively limited, many of the examples they recovered ultimately enhanced the Smithsonian Institution's National Numismatic Collection as well as the New York Federal Reserve Bank display. Unfortunately, most duplicates were destroyed regardless of condition after various institutional collections acquired specimens. It is also disappointing that the major museums were not informed of the mint's rare coins and given an opportunity to improve their holdings, thus preserving more of the nation's monetary history. So quite interesting. What happened from this occurrence and these events helped to shape some of the collections that we see in museums today. So there's some preservation, but it laments that others were not saved for prosperity. And here we see a list of other coins. So a lot of information to digest from these from this article, but I want to send a multitude of gratitude again to Baggins for sending this information along. And thank you all for taking the time to listen and check this information out. I think it's quite valuable and quite interesting indeed. So multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.